All right, guys, I would be lying if I said that I wasn't nervous for this one. In fact, I'm really nervous for this one, but what this whole video is about the truth. And so I'm going to be honest that I am nervous. And today's video is going to be something very interesting. I'm going live in my private Facebook community for my clients for this. I'm going to be posting this on replay on YouTube, Facebook, everything, because the world needs to know this so I can truly be the real me and show everybody who I am, that I'm not perfect. And I think that that will allow me to inspire people at a much better level, because to be honest, one has to be completely honest to be a leader. And so the right thing to do is always the right thing to do. I've put together a PowerPoint presentation, a little backstory. I just got back from a leadership conference, the 1% Coaching Mastermind Summit, where I networked with 50 other amazing online coaches in their respective niches, got to know people, and most importantly, learned from my mentor, Lynn, who really taught us a lot about leadership. And the first day was talking about truth and uncovering your truth. And this quote really stood out to me. The right thing to do is always the right thing to do, because it's very obvious, but we don't really think about this a whole lot. I mean, it's so easy to want to put on a mask and give a false impression to other people so that they think that we're somebody we're not, so that they think that we're perfect. But if we're constantly trying to be perfect, we're never able to open up about our real selves. And if we never open up about our real selves, we're never able to improve, grow, and truly connect on a deep human level, because we connect with each other's rough edges, not with each other's perfection or image of perfection. And so this is all about letting go of the ego and truly being real. And so this is something that I've actually told a lot of people, the people who I knew wouldn't judge me, but I've always been afraid to tell people who I thought might judge me for various reasons. So let's get into it. How to take steroids, taking off the mask, the raw truth, and why, when and why you should and shouldn't take anabolic steroids. So the first question, have I taken steroids? Yes, I've done 4 cycles. Should you? Probably not. Am I taking steroids right now? No, I haven't touched steroids in about a year. And I'm proud of that. And you're going to see why later in this presentation. Now, why am I making this video? I talked about this a little bit, but it's all about liberation and truth. And while this confession will eliminate my hopes of wiping a clean slate and competing in natural powerlifting, natural bodybuilding, which is something I actually was going to do earlier this year until a friend of mine who ironically does take steroids, you know who you are, told me that, hey, maybe that's not the best idea, because sure, you're natural now and sure, you've lost all the steroid gains, but you have taken steroids before. And there is research that shows that your muscle nuclei are permanently altered after taking steroids, such that you can make slightly better gains than somebody who's natural. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. All I know is that I've been able to see progress in both fat loss, muscle gain, and strength gain, even ever since stopping steroids. So I'm glad I did steroids a smart way, so that I didn't damage my endocrine system permanently. My body produces natural testosterone. I'm also happy to see that there is a life after steroids. So for anybody who's watching this who's currently addicted to steroids like I was, or who has done steroids and doesn't think they can ever get to that level again, or never look and feel good and strong again, there is hope for you. You're just going to have to put in the work, because you can't take those shortcuts anymore like you could with steroids, where you can fucking, honestly eat relatively dirty. I mean, you can get fat really quickly on steroids, as you're going to see in this presentation, actually quicker than you can naturally. But like, if you're cutting on steroids, you can train hard as fuck. You won't lose muscle, you won't lose strength, and you can still eat pretty dirty, which honestly, diet is a big struggle for a lot of people, including myself. But anyways, guys, I don't want to get too off topic. I'm going to keep this under 45 minutes. I should aim for 30 minutes so that I actually keep it under 45 minutes, knowing me. But at the end of the day, guys, I mean, our past, our present, our future are all part of who we are, and our destiny, our experience, and our struggles give us gifts. I always talk about how our struggles give us gifts, and that's true whether I've taken steroids or not. It's because when we go through struggles and we learn how to overcome them, we are given knowledge, revelation, and insights that we could share with other people who are going through similar struggles, to allow them to learn lessons from our struggles and collectively elevate the human consciousness so we can all learn from each other. And at the end of the day, I'm on the precipice of really going big with my online coaching and becoming an online fitness authority. I think and feel that I'm on that precipice where I'm about to make it big. And I don't want to be a fraud and a liar. I can't be. I got to nip this in the bud before I go big, while I'm still, small with only a few hundred followers and a few clients. And I have to really expose myself for who I am, and expose myself and continue to expose myself, because I want to be fully transparent. I've always massively respected people who are fully transparent, like Rich Piana, rest in peace. Jason Coley, a local coach here in San Diego, who's very open about this shit. Greg Valentino, who's pretty open about stuff too. I mean, there's a lot of people who are very open about steroids, and I don't want to be one of those fucking people who lies about steroids like I've been. I want to be honest about my past, present, and future. In the past, I've taken steroids. Presently, I'm not. In the future, I may actually do a cycle in the very near future. But regardless, I want to be fully transparent. I think this is the only way to be. The only way to be legit and truly help and move people is to be fully transparent. That's why I got to do this. And, I'm doing this video for me, but I'm also doing it so that people who are thinking about taking steroids will have a more educated perspective on why they shouldn't and what to expect. And the people who are dead set at least know how to do it the right way. And then they can identify the negatives that I'm going to talk about today so that they can learn their lesson a lot quicker than I did, especially about doing big, long cycles. So yeah, I hope to liberate others by taking off my mask, liberate you to take off yours and truly be who you are. And again, this might not be a big deal to some people. I mean, I talked to a coach in New Zealand who said that everybody in New Zealand does it, so it's not really a big deal at all, and everybody's open about it. But for me, it's a big deal because I know there are people who are going to judge me. I know that there's people who are going to stop following me because of this. I know I'm going to lose credibility with some people, but I know I'm going to gain it with others. But ultimately, I'm doing this for myself. So let's get into it. Boom. Oh yeah, there's Rich Piana. There was me when I met him when I was natural, 100% natural, like before I ever touched anything. And on the right, there's me when I met him on my first cycle, where I actually looked pretty big and good there. Whereas most of the time on cycle, I looked like a bloated mess until I got lean. So again, why did I lie? Because here's one thing that I also want to open up about. There's a couple things I'm going to open up about today, not just steroids before I really get into this, which is my whole life I've been the type of guy who hates to lie, but who will tell half truths to give people a certain perspective or perception of me such that they think I'm better than I really am. And that stems from insecurity. I mean, we all have insecurities and we all manifest them in different ways. Some people cut others down for their insecurities. Some people, live with a big ego. Some people just become depressed and always think down on themselves. And for me, I've honestly been in all of those shoes. I think we all have, those of us who are insecure, which is most of us, maybe all of us. And I lied because I didn't want people to judge me or think I was full of shit or that all my fitness advice was bullshit. Even though I got to a very high level naturally and continue to do so. But the ironic thing is that if I do lie, I actually am full of shit, right? Like if I say, I've never said that you can look like me without taking steroids, but I've never said you can only look like me if you take steroids. And the reality is the way I look right now where I'm natural, I think this is attainable naturally. So I don't really look too much better than I did when I was natural before I even touched steroids, because what you're going to see is that with steroids, you see a lot of progress, but you lose a lot of it, which is one of the reasons I'm against it, because it's just this up and down. There's no consistency. But another thing is I want to keep it private. I mean, I figured it was my business, and there were a few people who I knew wouldn't judge me, who I really enjoyed being open about, whether it's other people who took steroids or just close friends of mine who I knew I could open up with. And another thing is I didn't want my dad to know. I didn't want my grandparents to know. In fact, I'm probably going to hide this video from my grandparents just because, I already came clean to my dad yesterday. It was a scary conversation, but, I'm glad that I was able to say that to him, that we still have a relationship. My grandparents, I mean, it's not like they would disown me, but obviously I think it's better for them not to know. I just don't want to break their hearts. Big reason why I didn't want to tell my dad. I didn't want my past employer to know, although ironically he found out, and that was a pretty funny blow up. And I didn't want my clients to know either. And some of my clients do know, but a lot of them don't. Because again, I didn't want people to just think I'm full of shit. But ironically, I will be full of shit if I don't truly admit it. So with all that out of the way, here's my history. So this all started 9 years ago when I was 15. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm 24 years old. A lot of you guys don't know that too. That's another thing I was insecure about because I'm 24, I'm single, I have no kids. Yet a lot of my clients are in their 30s and 40s, and I coach them through and teach them how to become better fathers and better husbands by becoming better men. And that's the thing is, regardless of who you are, principles are universal. And while I may not truly know or have lived the life of a father or husband, there are certain principles just as a human being and as a man that one must live by that are universal in benefiting you no matter what position you find yourself in, whether you're a business owner or an employee, whether you're a husband, a father, or, just a single guy, whatever it is. But anyway, so here was when I was 19, when I literally hadn't touched anything. Now I had, taken Tribulus, which is like a herbal testosterone booster, and I had taken a Arimidex and a Race, which are like estrogen lowering compounds, but not on a consistent enough basis that I would consider myself not being natural here, because this is absolutely attainable level naturally. Now, when I was 19, I was really curious, but I was also a little bit insecure about my masculinity, due to sexual performance issues and due to the fact that I just wasn't like the suave ladies man that I thought I had to be. Not that I didn't get any girls at all, but, ultimately I had this insecurity because I wanted to be at the top level. I've always sought to be elite in every single way. And I had this massive sense of entitlement, like, hey, I look great. Why am I not getting girls? Oh, it's because I'm not man enough, right? And those of you who watched my other webinar know that that was an insecurity of mine from the very beginning. When I was 15, that's part of why I started lifting, was I wanted to feel like a man. Rather, why I got serious about lifting when I had just been doing it for fun before. When I saw a girl lift more than me, and when I kind of just identified that I was just this shy, pussy-ass kid, that's part of why I started lifting in the first place. But anyway, so I couldn't find any other pictures, but on the left, there was me fully natural. On the right, that was me after 11 days of Astrol. I had some other really good pictures, but I couldn't find them. They're on my old phone, my old website that, went under a couple of years ago. But essentially, I did 11 days of this compound called Astrol, which I got on eBay. Now, the funny thing with Astrol is it's a pro-hormone, which means it converts into Turinabol, which is a steroid in your body. And I also bought this other thing on eBay called Cycle Assist. And what Cycle Assist does is it just protects your liver and your other organs while you're on a cycle. Yet I still got really bad liver issues. And after 11 days, I was really lethargic because my liver was just being weighed down. Like, imagine how you feel when you're super bloated after eating too much food or whatever, or eating something bad. Felt like that all the time, and I could barely eat. Still gained 6 pounds because, the drugs are doing their work on my virgin receptors, and I was getting great pumps. My muscles really hard. My strength wasn't that good just because I wasn't really eating, but I did gain some weight. And you can see I'm pretty bloated in that picture when I've been doing it for 11 days, but I just couldn't handle after that. So I came off. I didn't do post-cycle therapy. I think it's hard for me to remember, but I'm pretty sure I didn't do post-cycle therapy. I lost those 6 pounds within a few weeks, like honestly, probably 1 or 2 weeks. And, I was able to keep seeing gains naturally. So that was cool. Now, it actually goes a little farther back than that, because when I was 15 to 18, I first bulked up naturally. I got like gyno, which is like man boobs, right? Like I had really puffy nipples. And ironically, when I was like 17, I used to be a huge fan of Mariusz Pudzianowski, this guy on the left right here. And I remember I was watching one of his training videos. He was world's strongest man like 5 times. They don't do drug testing in that, at least for steroids. So, these guys can take as much gear as they want. And I saw his training video where he takes a supplement called T100. So I was very intrigued by that. And I did some research, and it talked about how testosterone is modified at like the C17 bond or something like that. I was like, whoa, that's really interesting, like chemically speaking. So I started doing a lot of research. I found this website called isteroids.com. And there's this forum that I used to read, and there's this one guy on the forum who's just super badass. Like, I mean, this guy, before he ever touched steroids, lifted for like 20, 30 years. He could bench 365 for 8 reps naturally. And then he started taking steroids in his 50s, and now he could bench 5 plates, 495 for 12, which I thought was crazy. He was squatting like 700. Not going to say his name, just out of privacy, because I still think that steroids are an individual's private business. However, a big part of what I'm seeking to do here is open up and, create space for others to open up, but show that, like, if you're going to do it, don't be ashamed about it. Just admit it if professionally you can. Now, another thing is when I was 18, I had a principle that I didn't want to ever smoke weed until I was 18 because, a lot of my friends did, but I didn't want to touch it until I graduated high school, because my principle was if I had a kid, I wouldn't want him to do it until after high school. So around the time that I, smoked weed has a little bit of phytoestrogen, especially for those who aren't used to it. So I got puffy nipples again. And, I bought this supplement called Arimidex, which I learned about on isteroids.com, which is a synthetic compound used by steroid users to keep estrogen levels under control. And I took this to combat the estrogen effects of weed so I wouldn't get man boobs. Now, another thing, Tribulus, that herbal testosterone booster that I tried, you need to make sure if you're going to take Tribulus that it has 90% saponins, 85% protodiazine, or whatever it's called. There's one brand that I really like. Tribulus is cool. I don't really take it a whole lot. Again, like this whole last year, I've just been all about being natural, and it's fucking awesome. I'm going to explain that a little bit later on in this presentation. Another supplement I took was Erase, which used to be available on Amazon. It was another estrogen blocker. And I just had this obsession when I was 18 and 19 because I wanted to be like this alpha male, right? That was like a big part of who I wanted to become when I was 18. And I thought that testosterone was the answer, that if I boosted my natural testosterone levels in every single way possible, that I would achieve this. So I used to, I read the study that if you, a Chinese study that showed that like after 8 days of not masturbating, guys would boost their testosterone by 147%. So you know what I did? I didn't masturbate except for every 2 weeks, right? Yeah, I'm coming out with a lot of good shit today. A lot of TMI, right? But hey, if you're watching this video, you're probably either in my coaching community, so this is all weird for you, sorry about that. Or if you're watching this on replay on YouTube, Facebook, then, if you're still watching, you're probably actually interested in this shit. So, okay, cool, there you go. And, I had this obsession with testosterone. So I used to eat a cup of broccoli with every single meal. I was eating 6 times a day. I was drinking a cup of chamomile tea with every meal because all these things boost testosterone. I was taking zinc, lifting heavy. I mean, a lot of things that I still recommend you do, just not to that extreme, to optimize your testosterone levels. But honestly, if you just lift heavy, you're going to optimize your testosterone levels really, really well. And that's one thing you don't get with steroids is your testosterone levels are always high when you're on steroids. Not only does that cause personality disorders, but it also robs you of that fulfillment you get when you lift heavy and you get that testosterone boost that feels amazing. And honestly, I mean, I feel like in some ways it can be very detrimental to your gains, because when you have that surge of testosterone from lifting naturally, you get this really great quality of gains that just fucking feels awesome. But yeah, so I was in this 2-year relationship, and at the end of that relationship, we had some weird shit, and we were in an open relationship. Actually, as part of my whole thing after the leadership summit, I wrote her a letter this morning apologizing for everything. And during that relationship, I did mess with this cutting drug called albuterol. So the picture on the right is me before I ever touched steroids after just doing a 4-week run of albuterol. So it's a great cutting drug. It just helps you lose more fat while you're already got the fundamentals down. So I was relentlessly tracking my macros, just like I always tell people to do. I was hitting my workouts consistently, hitting my cardio progressively. And I just added albuterol to help me lose fat and not lose muscle. Because that was one of the biggest reasons why I messed with steroids in the first place, was I was afraid of losing muscle if I wanted to cut. And you'll see later on when I talk about life after steroids that I actually discovered by hiring 2 coaches how to get cut without losing muscle naturally. And that's part of why I recommend that protocol to my clients, so that they can lose fat naturally. And I just realized I forgot to put a picture of one of my clients who's seen fucking amazing results naturally, where he even looks like he takes steroids even though he doesn't, as an example of how you can still get great results without taking steroids using these methods that I've learned over the years of experience. But again, that's besides the point. I mean, I didn't make this video to show off per se. Well, actually, maybe a little bit, what I've done naturally and, the places I've been. But ultimately, this video is about liberation. So here's the thing is I also made a promise to my dad that I never take steroids. And that's why it was so hard to have that conversation with him. But the thing is, like I said, with the whole half-truths tendency that I always had, I added a little clause to that, which was, hey, I'll never take steroids, Dad, unless I need it. And I justified to myself that I'd reached my natural limit and that I needed it to get to the next level. That's part of how I was able to lie to my dad without actually feeling like I lied to him, which, again, it's hard to fucking own up to, but glad we were able to have a conversation. But anyways, I'm fucking dragging on like I always do. Here's a picture of me right before my very first cycle. So I really did get to a high level naturally. I was 205, probably about 14% body fat, 12 to 14%. I mean, it's hard to say. I was eating so fucking much back then that I was always bloated. Honestly, no, I think I was like 210 then. I really don't remember what my stats were. Probably about 210 and 14%. But I looked pretty good and I had a good physique. I learned how to activate every single muscle so I could develop proportionally, even my freaking forearms that were always small before, as you can see on this picture on the left from my first bulk in high school. But yeah, so I said, okay, cool. I've hit my natural limit. Time to do some steroids. Also, I hit some pretty solid numbers naturally as well. My 19th birthday, I hit a 425 squat. I won't take too much time by playing the video. 315 bench when I was 19 in August of when I was 19. And then I hit a 581 deadlift when I was 21, which was 6 plates. Some of them are kilo plates, which is why the number is awkward. And yeah, there it is. So that was my last time being natural. And again, to reflect on why I decided to take them, I was insecure about my masculinity for the reasons stated above, sexual performance, doing well with women, whatever. And I was curious, I'd done research for so many years. I also wanted to alter my mind with hormones because I felt guilty about being in an open relationship and I wasn't really able to hook up with other chicks, even though I had given myself permission to by, again, that half truth of being, hey, babe, I'll be with you, but in an open relationship, right? It was just this bullshit tendency that I've had for my whole life. I'm fucking vanquishing right now because I want to be a fucking real leader and lead with truth, courage, honesty, integrity, instead of leading with this projection of who I am, trying to pretend I'm perfect. So, and, so I want to alter my mind a little bit and become more masculine, but also be able to, bang other chicks and not feel guilty, which didn't work. But, when you're young, you make stupid decisions sometimes. In fact, we all make stupid mistakes. Another thing is I always had a dream of being a professional bodybuilder and powerlifter. And to be honest, in the non-tested divisions, unless the division specifically says natural or tested, all those guys are taking steroids. Like, I'm just going to be fucking real. And sorry to, put you guys under the bus, but it's just the truth. Because anybody who's actually natural is not going to compete in an open division because that would be stupid as fuck. Like, why would you compete in an open division against people who are potentially taking steroids if you could compete in the natural division and have an even playing field, right? And then lastly, again, I just didn't want to feel like other men were sexually better than me. That's a huge confession about my insecurities, but I think a lot of men have those insecurities too. So I hope that liberates you if that's you. But yeah, so here are my last 2 pictures as natural. Here was me natural with my buddy. Here is me about to do some heavy deadlifts naturally. And here's my first cycle layout. So for those of you who want to learn how to do a cycle, here is here's what you've been waiting for. Now, ironically, my buddy right here was the one who suggested I do HCG. Maybe I should have blocked out your face, man, so sorry. But essentially he said I should do HCG so I wouldn't shut down my balls. And I'm really glad he told me that, because I may not be here today naturally with regular testosterone levels to tell you this if he hadn't told me that, because I probably would have shut my shit down permanently. So my first cycle I did 16 weeks of testosterone and enthate, 500 milligrams every week. And at the last 8 to 12 weeks of this, or actually week 8 through 12, I did 50 milligrams of Winstrol every day. Now that started to make me lose a lot more hair than the testosterone was already making me lose. So I was like, okay, fuck that. So I switched to Anavar for the last 4 weeks, which didn't fuck up my hair, and got pretty lean. Now every 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, I was taking HCG 500 IUs every 3 days. That what HCG does is it stimulates your testicles to continue producing testosterone even while you're on cycle, so that they don't atrophy, so that when you come off, you can still be normal and have regular testosterone levels. And I was also taking Aromasin, on and off, which is an estrogen blocker to keep my estrogen levels in check. But yeah, the mood swings were fucking ridiculous with the cycle. Like in the beginning, I got crazy insomnia because I was always agitated from being on, all that test. And I got really like moody with my girlfriend at the time and was just treating her like shit. And, I started getting man boobs and bloat even when I was taking all this estrogen blocking shit, because a lot of it was just the bloat from the testosterone itself. And then when I was taking all that estrogen blocking stuff, it started messing up my joints because my estrogen levels were too low. And I thought that since I was on steroids now, I could train every single day. So I was working out 7 days a week, just overtrain and burn myself out. And I was eating a fuck ton to try to recover from that. So I ended up actually just getting pretty fat. I mean, I put on some muscle, but I got fat even faster than I could without steroids, because the estrogen, the testosterone, you can gain fat a lot faster. Now after, and I'll show you guys some pictures in a sec, but after week 16 through 20, I did IGF-1 LR3, which is a compound that actually growth hormone, when people take growth hormone, stimulates the production of that. I also messed around with some other growth hormone type stuff while I was doing the cutting portion the last 8 weeks of the cycle. So GHRP6, I forgot to put that in there. It's a bunch of fucking peptides. I was just turning my body into a test tube. I was 21, reckless and dumb as fuck, with a lot of research, but not a lot of future consideration. And then, so week 16 through 20, I did IGF-1, 50 IUs every day. Messed with some Clomid, although Clomid turned me into an emotional bitch in the rebound relationship that I got into. So that was terrible. So actually, I think I actually cut that down faster than that. Nolvadex, during that 4 weeks of post-cycle therapy, I did 40 milligrams the first 2 weeks, 20 milligrams the second 2 weeks. And by the way, this is all the stuff that you have to buy if you want to do a cycle with minimal side effects. I was also taking liver support, milk thistle, I bought the Rich Piana Organ Defender supplement, which he designed specifically for steroid users to, prevent them from messing up their organs too bad, although it'll still fuck up your organs. And then after the IGF-1, it was actually Ramadan, so I'm Muslim, so I fasted during Ramadan from dawn to dusk. So I took Ostarine week 21 through 24 at 25 milligrams, so I wouldn't lose my steroid gains. And then after Ramadan, I also did another PCT from the Ostarine. And Ostarine is a SARM, so it's a selective androgen receptor modulator, which affects the same receptors as steroids, but with way less side effects. So and again, I should probably say this, you should stay natural, and I'm going to talk about this later in the thing. However, if you have to do something, I would start with SARMs instead, because, you're going to get it without the side effects. Steroids have a fuck ton of side effects. And then, by the way, I forgot to mention, sexually speaking, even if you take HCG, which keeps your testicles producing testosterone, your testicles stop producing sperm. And actually, I haven't tried to have a kid yet, because I'm not married and not ready for that shit yet. But that's actually some permanent damage that I don't even know if I have, is whether I'm impotent or not. I mean, I know that I seem to produce, but I don't know the quality of my sperm. I haven't tested that. But either way, because you're not producing sperm, you're shooting blanks. So while you may be more of an animal in the bedroom, and while your dick actually will get bigger while you're on steroids, even though your balls get smaller, your dick gets bigger because you have more blood flow and more testosterone. Ultimately, you're shooting blanks, and your ability to go for round 2, 3, 4, it just goes away quite a bit, because you're just shooting blanks. You have less potency. Which is another thing that sucks about being on gear, even though you're horny as fuck. And and then again, I did tribulus and D-aspartic acid. So a lot of information here. Wow, it's crazy to think that I was on something for half a year. And the steroids themselves I was on for 16 weeks, but the post-cycle I was on for quite a while. So here are the results. This is after a few weeks. I got pretty big and bloated. Here was me naturally versus me towards the end of the cycle. This picture got cut off on my head here, but you can see I was very red. Here was me right before. Here was me a couple weeks after, beefing up. And then here was me when I got really fat, week 8 of the cycle. Here was me at the end of the cycle when I had come off and lost all the steroid bloat as well. I went from 228 to 201. And also, for those of you who watch my webinar, again, with the half truth, where I implied oh, but that's why I don't use steroids, because I was talking about the present, so I wouldn't feel like I was lying, even though I'd used them in the past. You're going to see me come out with another webinar about how to get in the best shape of your life, where I admit to the fact that I've taken steroids like I am today. I'm going to feel fucking amazing to be able to say that with honesty. And then, you know, there's my progress photos in general. So after that cycle, I did IGF-1 and Austrian. And so those are pretty sick because they allow you to maintain pretty well. Actually, oh yeah, because then after that cycle, after Ramadan, you know, I went to France, gained a little bit of fat. So here's me on the left after I got back from France, where I gained some fat and was kind of back at what you call a natural baseline. Then I decided to mess with some IGF-1. So these pictures on the right are me after adding in the IGF-1 again. So this was my foundation going into my next cycle, which was when I was working 60 hours a week as a personal trainer. So week 1 through 4, I decided to add an oral this time, since last time it had taken too long for the testosterone to hit me. So that gave me a nice kickstart, which was cool. And then because the testosterone itself would give me such bad side effects, I dropped my dose from 500 milligrams per week down to just 150 to 200 per week, which keeps you more within natural levels. And that way, while the other steroids stretch you down, you keep your testosterone levels at a normal baseline, so that you don't get the side effects of too high of testosterone, but you also don't get the side effects of low testosterone from just using these other compounds that shut down your natural production alone. So then I messed with Nedrolone phenylpropionate, which is known for being good for strength, joints, and appetite. So it actually did help me put on a good amount of size and get really strong for my powerlifting competition. I trained properly instead of overtraining this time, so I stuck with what I knew would naturally work and got really strong. And then after my competition on week 8, I did a 4-week cut with Winstrol, 50 milligrams. I might have added in some Anavar, but I'm pretty sure it was just Winstrol, which ironically made me lose a lot of hair again. And then HCG, I tried a different protocol, so it's important to keep in HCG. And for anybody who's like is dead set on doing a cycle, message me so I can at least try to convince you not to. But so that if you do decide to do it, I can actually, you know, tell you how to not fuck yourself up. And then again, I did IGF-1 on the come down with Nolvadex, and this time no Clomid, because Clomid fucked up my brain, turned me into a bitch. And then Austrian again to finish off after that. So here are some of the pictures. So here was me again at like a natural peak, so to speak. Here was me on that cycle where I just got yoked and shredded as fuck. There are a couple more pictures from that cycle. Here are another pictures from that cycle, and you'll notice that if you know me from my Facebook ad, I use that picture in my ad. And so that is something I'm gonna have to be honest about. I do use these steroid pictures because they are pretty dope in my Facebook ads to get people's attention. And while I'm not trying to tell you that you should take steroids, I mean, the more attention I can get, the more people whose lives I can actually change. So if you don't think that's ethical, you know, comment, and I would love to have a discussion. And, you know, if you can convince me that's not ethical, I'll take those ads down. But I'm not saying that you can look like me. In fact, if you look at the comments on my ad, there was some guy who commented and said, I better look like you in 90 days or I want my money back. And I commented back and sent him a picture of me when I was natural and said, this is what you can expect to look like. It took me 9 years, you know, something like that. And, you know, now I'm going to have to be open about the steroids too. And then there's me on the left with crazy veins in my arms. That's how you can tell when someone's taking steroids. Like right now, my arms don't really have crazy veins because I'm natural. But, you know, that's what it is. So after that cycle, I actually worked up to a 500 squat naturally just to prove to myself I could do it right before my next cycle. On my next cycle, and I won't go too long with this, I just did 6 weeks of Anavar again during Ramadan because I was a personal training manager and I wanted to make sure my energy and gains were up. So I did those steroids. Plus, you know, it makes Ramadan a lot more fun because I've done cuts naturally during Ramadan and I've gotten good results from it, especially before I ever touched steroids. So for those of you who are watching this who are like, you know, thinking, oh, well, if Mounir's going to do a cycle during Ramadan, if Mounir did cycles during Ramadan, I should too. No, you don't fucking have to. I mean, yes, it makes it funner and easier. However, you can get great fucking results during Ramadan naturally, and I'll teach you how for free if you message me. And then, yeah, so I just did, you know, Anavar, Austrian afterwards, IGF-1 afterwards, using Nolvadex, Tribulus, and D-aspartic acid for my post-cycle therapy. On the cycle, I benched 315 for 8, and I think 2 plates for 22, so I got some pretty good numbers. And then on my 4th cycle, I got a crazy health scare. So here is me at the end of 2017, where I was taking Equipoise, which is a drug that actually gave me quite a bit of anxiety. I was taking it because it's known for increasing your appetite, and that's something I wanted to do, was be able to eat a ton and get huge. But, you know, in the beginning of 2018, you know, I also added some Anavar, I was cutting, and just the whole combination, the cumulative effect of all those cycles on my liver, because, you know, I did 4 cycles from 21 years old to 23 years old, and, you know, I was destroying my body. So there was a day where I woke up and I could barely get out of bed because I was really burnt out. My cortisol levels were high from all the overworking and overtraining I was doing because I was working so many hours at work, you know, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. a lot of days as a personal training manager. And, man, it was just gnarly. And and so when your cortisol levels are high, when you're natural, you naturally, will feel stressed and tired to where you'll naturally take a break. But because I was on steroids, I was still able to get by with those 4 hours of sleep at night and just really run myself to the ground. So I woke up, could barely get out of bed. I was training my client, and 15 minutes into training her, I got so tired and winded that I had to call off the session, comp per session, meaning just make it free, not charge her for it, obviously, and cancel all my other sessions for the day because I was sick. And I went home and was in bed for 3 days. It was terrible. And that's when I decided to come off and never do steroids again. So ironically, wait a second. Oh, here it is. So yeah, so that Ramadan, I decided to just do Ostarine because I knew that I would be able to keep, my gains, so to speak, relatively easily, even while working 60 hours a week. But I ended up just dragging ass at work, and I actually lost my position as manager during that time because my performance went down. And, my boss at the time and I had this huge ego clash struggle thing to where, like, he was probably just looking for a reason to demote me so he wouldn't have to pay me so much and so that, he could get his ego back. I mean, long story behind that. I'm not trying to talk shit about him. I'm just speaking the facts and the truth here. But, after that, it really hurt. And the fact that, my performance was down at work, I decided to just throw in some Anabolic. So this was June 1st through 15th of 2018. And it definitely did boost my performance. I had energy again at work, and I was able to perform again really well with my clients and with my sales. But it messed up my liver again, so I decided to come off, and probably for good. And I came clean to my boss at the time, and he, part of that, plus the fact that he had suspicions that I was looking into other gyms to work at, which I was considering it, but I still wanted to stay at the same gym and see if a position to become manager again would open up, because that's what I wanted to do. I really loved that gym and everything. But there was that little bit of intention inside of my head, and I was only 90% truthful that I had just, talked to trainers at other gyms, but I've never actually thought of going to those gyms. And that combination, he fired me, and that's how I ended up starting my own business. All the other stories I've told about how I started my own business, 100% true. That's just another dimension to it, was the whole steroids thing, because he was very against that. So this is right after that Ramadan. I'm pretty sure I was taking IGF-1 here, just as part of my post-cycle protocol. But after that, I went to Mecca. I went on a pilgrimage to Mecca, which really changed my life. As a Muslim, helped me become more in touch with who I am and my core religiously. And I saw it as a clean slate because I got a little bit out of shape in Mecca. I was eating a lot of food and not really working out consistently. And when I came back, I decided to hire a coach. And ironically, the coach wanted me to take steroids because, a lot of his clients did, and he knew he could get me better results that way. But I was dead set on doing it naturally because I wanted to learn how to cut naturally without losing muscle, because that had always been one of my fears and one of the reasons why I had started for steroids in the first place. So I was pretty blown away, where he had me eat 300 grams of protein a day, 200 grams of carbs, 50 to 70 grams of fats, and he had me do a progressive cardio routine where I was either increasing by 50 calories per day or increasing by one session per week. And so that was actually very effective for me. And then I hired another coach, powerlifting coach, to design workouts to allow me to keep muscle during this period and keep strength during this period. And by working with both those coaches, I got some pretty fucking awesome results. I lost 10 pounds and 4% body fat in 4 weeks, 100% naturally. And while I did feel weak during the cut, since, I wasn't taking steroids and I was in this caloric deficit, ultimately after the cut, I had all my strength and I looked really, really good, as you can see. And, it's crazy to think that that's natural. I never thought I could achieve that naturally, but yet I could. And, I've continued lifting naturally this whole year, and I've been able to achieve this great physique without ever, taking steroids again. And so, that does make me feel good. And again, while there is research that indicates, and it's probably true, that if you use steroids, you have a permanently altered muscular nuclei. Yes, that may be true, and that may be why, I still have that look. But the thing is, I've been accused of taking steroids since the very beginning, since before I ever touched them, because I always had that nice anabolic look. Partially good genetics, partially because I have small joints, which creates the illusion that my muscles are bigger than they are, because my wrists are really fucking small. And partially because I just study the fuck out of this shit. And I'm always learning. I learned how to develop every muscle, even my lagging muscles, and learned how to reliably and consistently make gains, which you'll learn a lot more about by following my YouTube channel. And if you're in my community, you've already learned a lot, about protein awareness, about the whole talk I did a week or two ago about the different hormones, 2 weeks ago, about glucagon, insulin, fats versus carbs, and a lot of other stuff, which are just important concepts to keep your body anabolic, whether or not you take steroids, and especially if you don't take steroids, which is what I recommend for everybody, to not take steroids. So anyways, I'm feeling pretty liberated that I was able to talk about this openly. I mean, it's scary for sure. And, I have a future where I do plan on potentially doing a cycle. Now, this Ramadan, which is coming up in 2 weeks, I'm kind of afraid because I'm afraid if I don't do a cycle, I mean, I know that I might temporarily lose some gains or some muscular fullness, but that's not really my main concern, because I've had successful Ramadan cuts before when I was natural and when I wasn't working. Actually, no, I did a Ramadan cut while I was in school too. And I was taking, minimal supplements. But, my fear, because what happened last Ramadan is that if I don't do a cycle, I'm going to drag ass and lose my business. Because right now I'm running 2 businesses, and I'm able to get results, and I take pride in that, being a former steroid addict. But, I am afraid. And so a part of me wants to do a 6-week cycle with this upcoming Ramadan at a very low dose compared to the doses that I had used previously. But I also don't want the health consequences. So I know it would fuck up my liver. I know it'll give me, the mood swings I'm not too worried about with Anavar or the hair loss, because for me, that's a compound that doesn't really fuck me up too bad. But another thing is I don't want to set a bad example for my clients, because again, I said it earlier, I don't want my other clients who are going through Ramadan to think that they have to do it too, just because I'm doing it. And I want to use the example of my past where I was able to, do it naturally. And it's a big part of my message is living your truth and inspiring others by living your truth and with the revelations you get. So those are the reasons why I don't want to do a cycle versus the reasons why I do want to do it. And I'm leaning towards yes, doing it. But even so, I'd say it's like, I really do feel 50-50, to be honest. And, I do like looking a little freaky, and I know that my receptors are virgin right now where the gains would be pretty cool. And it would be nice to look a little bit freaky, that Ramadan would be more fun. But it is a choice I'm going to have to make in this next week. So anyways, guys, just want to be completely transparent about that. And either way, I'm tired of lying. I always want to be fully transparent. So if I do decide to do the cycle, I'm going to be fully honest about it. I'm not going to deny. I'm not going to try to contort the truth like I have in the past, where I very rarely outright lied about steroids, because people very rarely outright ask me, but I imply that I was natural, in a lot of ways that I don't want to do anymore, because that's fucked up. It's not honest. And I want to be, because I know at my core I'm an honest person, and I have this history, and I know that people will judge me for it, but I just have to be fucking honest about it. I mean, shit. But anyways, if you've made it this far, I really want to say thanks for watching. And to those who still support me, I really do appreciate you giving me the space to open up and be honest about, who I truly am, and take off that mask and really be myself, so I can grow and become a true leader and be able to serve you and thousands of other men in everything that I do. And, I'm glad that I'm no longer held back by this lie. I want to be able to give you honest advice. And, I hope that those who are either taking steroids or those who are wearing other masks with your other insecurities are inspired. And by me taking off my mask, you feel open to take off yours. And I've created that space for you, or at least in a private conversation with me, you feel that I'm somebody who you can safely open up to. Because as a coach, that's what I want to be. That's how I have to be. Like, if you can't open up to me as a coach, then I'm not going to be able to help you to the best of my ability. And that's something I seek to do, that I do a lot, is just really discuss men's struggles and let them know that it is a safe place and that they can be comfortable sharing that with me. Now, I know that there are going to be people who are going to hate on me for this too. And you know what? I understand 100%. I really do. Because especially if you think that this makes me a dishonest person, which I hope that by being honest, I show you that I've come around there. But you know what? I totally get it if you think that this means that I have no integrity. I totally get it if you think this means I'm full of shit, although I actually do have really good training and dietary knowledge, regardless of what I've taken in the past. And but I get it, because I've hated on guys who are taking more stuff than me, like the guy who beat me in that powerlifting competition, which is like, holy shit, how much more gear do I have to take to be at this guy's level? But at the end of the day, taking whatever somebody takes is their individual choice. And if you work hard and you do your best, I still respect and salute you no matter what you take or don't take. And I definitely respect you more if you don't take anything. And here's why you shouldn't do it. So there's obviously the health risks. I got really bad back knee. Thankfully, the scars from that are minimal. Hair loss, that's why I keep my hair long, because I have a little bit of receding right here, partially due to genetics, partially due to the actual steroids. When you're taking gear, it affects your interpersonal relationships because you have crazy mood swings, your personality is inconsistent and unstable. And now that varies from person to person, but don't take that risk, because you could really fuck up the important relationships in your life, especially if you're a father and husband. Your gains will go up and down, because every time I came off a cycle, I'd lose 10 pounds, which fucking sucked. It was very discouraging, and it sucks training after a cycle. And, there's a lack of consistency there, because you can't see consistent progress. If you look at anybody, like I have a friend who's 38, lifetime natural, 220 pounds at 5'7", fucking 6% body fat, squats 600 pounds, benches almost 500, deadlifts 600 pounds. I mean, the dude is a fucking beast. It's because he's trained consistently and naturally for his whole life. He's actually competed in natural bodybuilding to where I know that he's natural. And if you're watching this, bro, you know who you are. So I salute you. And that is something that's inspirational for me. And a big thing that taught me a lot about longevity was I used to have a 70-year-old client for my in-person personal training. And this guy was completely functional. He could do everything at age 70. I was figured at 70, I'd just be old and crippled. But to see somebody able to do that at 70 inspired me to want more longevity in my life. And steroids is not the way to do that. You see guys like even Rich Piana, who I look up to, died in his 40s. You see a lot of guys dying in their 40s from taking steroids. And that's because, it affects your liver and organs, which are also some serious side effects. I mean, the liver ones were what caused me to stop in the first place. Now, another one is, why are you even considering doing steroids? Are you insecure? Like, why do you have to be at that level? Like, I understand if you want to push your athleticism to its greatest levels, even beyond your genetic potential, but you need to get to your genetic potential first. And look, if you're dead set on taking steroids, like, at least communicate with me so I can try to convince you not to. Like, I'll be real, I'm going to try to convince you not to, because of what I've experienced and the shitty health effects that I experienced, as well as the up and down gains, like I said, and everything else that we just talked about. But if you are dead set, man, I'm going to teach you how to do it right, because I don't want you to fuck yourself up more than you have to. And I hope that you can learn from my experience and identify everything I've talked about if you do decide to take steroids, so that you decide not to. And again, if you are going to do it, wait till you've been training consistently for a few years and have the fundamentals down and know your body well. I've said this before on my webinar, I'll say this again, which is that if you need steroids to get the gains, when you come off the steroids, you're going to lose the gains. Simple fact. You want these gains to be loyal. You want them to be with you for your whole life. So if you do them naturally, you are going to be able to keep your gains your whole life, instead of going up and down, losing consistency, all the other shit. And plus, coming off steroids fucking sucks. When you have no testosterone for a little bit while you're recovering it, it fucking sucks. Your whole life turns to shit. And it really undoes all the fun and benefits that you could do with steroids. Part of why I'm considering not doing the cycle that I originally planned on doing in a week or two. And again, you need to make sure you max your genetic potential. And if you're not sure if you have, send me a message and I'll give you some free advice on whether you've maxed your genetic potential, and how to break your plateaus naturally. And again, I didn't learn how to cut naturally until after I'd taken steroids, and I realized that it's not something I wanted to do anymore. And so, I'd use steroids as a crutch, and you don't want to use them as a crutch. And, I worked with 2 coaches who taught me a lot about how to do things naturally, which was great. But again, don't rely on steroids as a crutch. So anyways, guys, that is a presentation. I think I kept it under 45 minutes. I wonder if anybody's watching this on my coaching community. Interesting. Cool. Hey, Zach, I appreciate the shout out, man. But yeah, I just got to be real with you guys. I can't be a liar. I got to be fully real with you guys. But yeah, that is my steroid confession. That is a lot of info. There's a lot of stuff I didn't get the chance to say, or that I may have forgotten to say. But again, if you have any questions, comment down below. Send me a message, because I want to help you regardless of where you're at, who you are. I want to create a safe space for you to open up and know that I'm not going to judge you, because I just reveal a lot of shit that you can judge me on. If you want to judge me, that's your right. That's fine. But I hope that this shows you who I truly am, my flaws, my imperfections, everything else. A couple other confessions. I'm not 100% consistent with my training, with my diet, with everything else, but I'm definitely at least 80% consistent. And the 80-20 rule is something it's very important to remember in life, which is that you're never going to be perfect. It's impossible to be perfect, and the hardest thing to try to do is to be perfect. However, if you do things right 80% of the time, you can afford to do them wrong 20% of the time. This applies universally in your health and fitness, in your training, in your interpersonal relationships, in your work. It applies across the board. So as long as you seek for progress, not perfection, you will always progress in life, and you're always going to be your very best. So anyways, guys, don't want to have this drag on for too long, but thank you so much for attending and for watching this. And I hope that you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Take care. I'll talk to you soon. Mounir Lazuni, out. Boom.